The scholastic worldview is built on balance, connection, senses, turned into action through deliberation, motion from one stage to the next. An overlapping grid, 3 rows for the 3 powers of the soul, columns bringing each row to completion. Today's focus is on stage 9, command, taking choices and turning them into action, which takes us full circle. Senses came in from the world, and then actions are now going back out into it, made rational, made human by this 9-stage process, and it's made that way for good or ill. The timid should act more. The tyrant's actions are disordered. We seek balance, noble ideas in contact with a real world. Nothing does more harm than a good idea on the loose. So that real world does matter. It's a world of moral facts. So we'll avoid the error which views it as necessary for a prince or ruler to know how to do wrong, to be ready and willing to do evil, justified, or so he says, because he who abandons realpolitik for what ought to be done creates ruin. It's a view that divides the world into the weak, prey, and the wicked bosses. You might have heard people who like to think of the world that way. And would you rather be weak or wicked? Is there a third choice? Maybe, but philosophy won't give it to you because it's not meant to reveal the inherent essence of any man. It doesn't even interpret the world. The job of philosophy, it turns out, is to change it. Fair enough, but how do you know? How do you know if you're changing it for better or for worse? Question, are you dismantling the structures of domination? Are you transforming society through a self-generating, ruthless critique, not an objective description of what is, not a concern for a fixed order outside of history and power? And I'm getting excited here, and it does seem that the active life is superior to the contemplative. The best and most worthy and highest-ranking people are people of action, aren't they? Well, yes. And these people also excel in contemplation. So that was a false choice, a false distinction. It's been obliterated, so get it out of here. But another question, doesn't contemplation serve action? I mean, is that what we're doing with these 9 stages here? Just like bridle making serves the military arts. That's an example from Aristotle. You know, how do you know if it's a good bridle? Well, the cavalry will tell you if it's working or if it's not. Anyway, it's the active life that directs and commands, isn't it? Well, yes, it is. The active life commands other actions of the active life, but not the contemplative life. The contemplative life consists in a liberty of the mind, and in fact, it's the active life that serves rather than commands the contemplative life. Again, we're taking those senses in from the world and we're making them more human, more rational, finding order in this chaos here. The opposite error, no longer justifying immoral actions or trying to, but now we are questioning all action, because in those with perfect knowledge, the manifestations of the will entirely cease. The man who has attained to this state ceases to desire. Are you really still human at that point? The struggle is hopeless and meaningless, and yet somehow fills man's absurd heart. And I feel the same way every time I'm reading this stuff. But the winner for the best quote of all goes to this guy who says, to act is to anchor oneself in an imminent future so as to avoid facing the vacancy of the present. Action is a flight from the void, a mechanical agitation to conceal from ourselves the catastrophic evidence of our uselessness. And speak for yourself, the evidence of my personal uselessness is not catastrophic. I mean, we're thinking a little highly of ourselves there. It's just kind of like there. Anyway, is there a purpose behind our actions? I guess that's a question, and it would seem like there is not. Yeah, there's causes for our action. Causes, motivations, they come first, but purposes or ends, as the name implies, come later. Yeah, our actions are motivated, but they don't necessarily have any purpose. Although the end be last in order of execution, yet it is first in order of the agent's intention, and it is in this way that it is a cause. All human actions, actions for which we are rightly praised or blamed, have some purpose or end. Just like that finished portrait, it's the last thing to appear on the page, but it was the first thing in the artist's mind. Every product around you, existed as an idea, as a blueprint in the inventor's mind before it was built. Broaden that out to every human action starts as an idea, but this does not separate us from nature because, as Aristotle says, intellect and nature both act for an end.